So if you're someone who's trying to connect with a child who um, mainly uses gestures or sounds, maybe very focused movements instead of, typical spoken language,
Hmm.
you already know it's not simpler. It's just, well, it's different, isn't it? It takes a certain way of looking at things to
Yeah.
really get it and respond effectively.
Yeah, exactly. And that certain way, that specific lens, is what we're really digging into today. We've got this fantastic guide here. It's all about adapting the pride skills framework. Praise, reflect, imitate, describe, enjoy, but specifically for nonverbal communication.
Right.
Our mission really is to pull out the core ideas, the philosophy behind it, and maybe more importantly, the practical stuff, the nonverbal techniques you can actually use like right away to build that connection, boost confidence, and create that feeling of emotional safety.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this then. Because pride, I mean, it's a well-known framework. Lots of people use it. But if you're
Right.
used to back and forth verbal chat, the idea of translating all of that into movement, presence, it can feel a bit intimidating.
Oh, absolutely it can. But the fundamental goal of pride, that doesn't change. It's always about building that connection, building confidence, making things feel safe emotionally. I think where we sometimes trip up is feeling like we have to get words out of them or force verbal interaction. But for kids, communicating mainly through, say, facial expressions, body language, certain sounds, maybe gestures, well, we just need to adapt how we deliver the skills. We need to speak their language, so to speak. The relationship part stays the same.
And what really jumps out from this guide is how the goal shifts, doesn't it? It's less about teaching language and more about mirroring their communication. So the caregiver's main job becomes like really honoring the child's sensory needs, trying to match their style, and actively looking for those moments of shared joy. That focus on adaptation, not correction. That feels key for anyone wanting to really understand this space.
Absolutely. And you learn pretty quickly that success here, it hinges less on any specific words you might use and way more on your pacing, your awareness of their sensory world. It's the how you interact, the tone, the exact timing, the rhythm of your body. That's what makes these skills actually work and builds up that trust.
Okay, so let's dive into those core skills for getting that dialogue going, starting with our reflect. The idea here is showing the child, okay, I see you. I get what you're communicating, even if it's really subtle, right?
Exactly. And the techniques are, well, they're like the grammar of nonverbal connection. It involves things like mirroring their gestures, maybe specific signs they use, vocalizations, even facial expressions. If they're staring really intently at, say, a spinning toy car wheel, you gently turn your head, you look at it too. Same intensity. If they lift their hands up, maybe you gently lift yours. You're basically saying, I see what you're focused on, I'm with you.
And the guide really stresses honoring boundaries as like a core part of reflecting. I found that really interesting. So if the child pushes something away or turns their body or even just pulls back a little, the guide sees that as communication, full stop. And it says that communication has to be respected instantly. Why is that immediate respect so crucial?
Because honoring that stop signal, that boundary right in that moment, that's probably the strongest way you can show connection and build safety. Think about it. If a child uses their body to say no or I need space and you just barrel through it, well, you've just broken that connection. You've undermined the trust completely. Honoring that push away or that turn away, it validates their feeling, their autonomy. It teaches them their body language works. It has power. That's huge for confidence.
Right, huge. Okay. And what if the child uses other tools, like maybe an AAC device or picture symbols or actual sign language? Does a reflect change then?
It actually makes it clearer in a way. The goal then is to try and use their system to reflect back. So if they point to the picture for more, you might point to the same picture, maybe nod and smile. You're showing them, yes, I understand what you said with your tool, and it works. I respect it. It validates their whole method of communicating.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So validating their message leads us naturally into the next one, I imitate.
Mm.
If reflect is about showing you understand, imitate seems more about, well, pure connection. Letting the child lead by literally joining in with what they're doing, how they're doing it.
Yes. Imitation is all about matching their body language, and this is critical, matching their rhythm. So let's say a child is tapping two blocks together, but it's not random, it's a specific pattern. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap, tap. Imitation isn't just you tapping blocks too. It's you trying to match that exact rhythm, that pace, that pattern. Or if they're rocking gently and making a soft humming sound, you join the rocking, maybe try to match that gentle hum. You're joining their sensory experience.
I think as adults, we often find that hard, the matching rhythm part. Our instinct is often to, like, add something or speed it up or change it somehow. Can you give a quick example of how just matching rhythm builds that connection?
Sure. Think about pacing. Imagine a child slowly, very carefully, lining up toy cars, one by one. Very deliberate. Now, if you jump in and quickly line up 3 or 4 cars next to theirs, well, you've kind of broken the spell, haven't you? You've changed the energy. But if you get down there and you match their slow pace, maybe even pause just a fraction longer than them before placing your car, you're sending a powerful message. I see how you're doing this. I'm entering your world on your terms. It becomes this shared language of movement, and the guide points out this works across ages, toddler pointing, older child using a specific routine. It's all about meeting them right where they are.
Okay, so reflect and imitate are the core building blocks for that nonverbal conversation. But then the guide really hammers home that timing and sensory awareness. Those are like the mechanics that make it all work. Let's get into why timing is so vital, this idea of pacing and pauses.
Timing is everything, really, because nonverbal communication and often the sensory processing that goes with it, it just takes more time. It needs space. So the guide is quite firm on this. You have to give the child extra processing time after any communication attempt they make. Whether it's a gesture, a sign, a sound, even just a significant look, pause. Give them space.
And the practical tip is to count, right? Silently, maybe 3 to 5 seconds before you jump in with a prompt or a question or change the subject. But I can imagine that feeling a bit forced or creating friction for the caregiver, especially if they're feeling rushed or stressed themselves. How do you make that 5-second pause feel natural, not like you're constantly timing everything?
Yeah, that friction is definitely real. And look, the goal isn't robotic rigidity. It's about consistency, building a habit. The pause works on 2 levels. First, it gives the child's brain that crucial moment to process what just happened. Second, it signals there's space here for you to respond if you want to. If you're always rushing, always filling the silence, you inadvertently teach the child that the conversation moves too fast for them. So the broader approach isn't just silent counting, it's about consciously slowing yourself down a bit. Your movements, your facial expressions, decelerate your whole presence slightly. That makes the pause feel less like a timer and more like a natural rhythm. It supports their processing proactively.
That idea of the caregiver decelerating,
Yeah.
yeah, that feels really powerful. And it connects directly to the next piece, sensory awareness. Because the guide is clear. How you reflect or imitate has to be carefully tuned to that specific child's sensory needs.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. The guide highlights 4 key sensory things to constantly consider. They really change how your attempts at connection are received. First up is touch. Any kind of praise or connection involving touch, a high five, a pat on the back, a hug should only happen if you know for sure the child enjoys it and seeks it out. For one child, it's regulating. For another, it's jarring, overwhelming.
Okay, what's next?
Volume. Keep your voice predictable, generally soft. Sudden changes in pitch or just being too loud can be really disruptive, especially if you're in a focused shared activity. You want to avoid making them use energy just to manage your sensory input.
Makes sense. And the third one is proximity. Being close enough to connect, like when imitating, but not so close you're in their space if they need distance.
Exactly. Read their cues. If they need space, honor that perimeter. If they subtly move closer, you can slowly match that. Let them control the distance. And the fourth is visual input. Some kids are really sensitive to sudden movements. Big, fast gestures or overly animated facial expressions can be too much. They might prefer gentler gestures, slower, more subtle shifts in your expression.
So tying it all together, that slow, responsive timing combined with this really detailed sensory awareness, those are essential for building trust. Because if your movements or sounds feel unpredictable or overwhelming to the child, that connection just can't take root no matter how good your intentions are.
Right. It's about creating safety through predictability. They learn you're a safe, understandable presence.
Okay, we've covered the R and the I in depth and the crucial timing and sensory pieces.
Right.
Let's quickly touch on the other 3 pride skills to get the full picture. Starting with P praise, we still need to acknowledge effort and connection, but non-verbally. How does that look?
Nonverbal praise can be simple. A warm, sustained smile, a slow nod, showing excitement just with your eyes. Or very simple, quiet verbal affirmations, just one word like nice or yes, kept very steady. And this is critical, that the guide gives a sensory check. If the child stiffens up, turns away, maybe covers their ears when you praise them, you need to switch immediately. Go softer, maybe just a slight nod, or a gentle shift in your posture that shows approval, less intense.
That sensory check is really important. Why would just Softening the praise, stop the stiffening. What's happening there?
Well, when a child stiffens or pulls away like that, it's often their nervous system saying too much input. Even positive input, like praise if it's too intense visually or auditorily, can feel like overload. So by shifting to just a soft nod, you're still validating their action, but you're bringing the sensory level down below their distress threshold. It's praise they can actually receive without getting overwhelmed.
Got it. That makes the line between connection and overload really clear.
Okay, next up is describe. The goal here is adding a bit of structure, maybe shared meaning, using simple language alongside what's happening.
Exactly. And the technique is about pairing a gesture with very minimal language, like one word minimal. You might point to something or trace a movement they're making with your hand, maybe show big with your arms, but you pair that gesture with just a single word, like saying up, just as you help lift a block, or spin while you both watch a toy spin. And crucially, the pacing rule applies heavily here too. Describe, then pause. Really resist that urge to chatter and fill the silence. That quiet space right after your single word is often where their communication attempt will emerge.
Right, creating that invitation. Okay, and finally, enjoy. This seems straightforward but important. It's about showing genuine presence and shared enjoyment. Yeah, it's about being genuinely present and finding joy in the moment together. It might look like laughing together, smiling warmly, maybe swaying gently if you're listening to music, or sharing eye contact. But the guide is really clear. Only if the child initiates or clearly enjoys eye contact. Never force it. It's about authentic, shared, positive feeling.
And there's a really critical point about using these skills during distress, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely vital. When a child is upset, dysregulated, overwhelmed, the rules change. At that point, the guide says to focus only on two skills: reflect and metronome, which means acknowledging their distress with a very calm, neutral facial expression, maybe gently mirroring a safe sound they make, and enjoy, which in this context means just being a calm, predictable, breathing presence nearby. You pause, praise, and describe completely. Don't try to teach or cheerlead. Wait until they start to regulate again. The core idea is co-regulation. Your calm becomes their anchor. Your regulated nervous system helps theirs settle down.
Wow. Okay, so putting it all together from this guide, it really paints a clear picture. Nonverbal connection hinges on consistent mirroring, that slow responsive timing we talked about, respecting boundaries is paramount, and really carefully matching the child's unique communication style and sensory needs.
Exactly. So, what does this all mean for you day to day? I think the core message is that connection is built by being predictable, by being calm, and by being truly present. We often get caught up looking for the big milestones, right? A sudden word, a huge breakthrough. But this material really emphasizes that true confidence, that deep sense of safety for the child, it comes from the small stuff. The consistent, tiny moments of acknowledgement, of shared rhythm, of being understood nonverbally that just add up over time.
Yeah, trust definitely takes time. And those building blocks, like you said, they can feel almost invisible until you start intentionally looking for them. So thinking about everything we've discussed, especially that pacing and honoring boundaries, here's something to mull over. What's one small, consistent nonverbal reflection you could try today? Maybe just honoring one boundary instantly, or consciously matching a rhythm for just a minute, knowing that those little moments, that 3 to 5 second pause you try to hold, they really do add up in very big ways.